Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our second design review of the day. This one is about machine learning. Okay, let's take a little look here. So we did a review fairly recently of Text Summarized, didn't we?
Yes. So most of what we discussed was implemented like this week. So
Do I
if you
have to
get
look at
the
the
if you want to look at the documentation page, I think it's going to be is fine if you look at the page because I modified that with what we discussed last time. Which it seems you don't have updated documentation.
Oh gosh, not again. Okay, can somebody chase this perhaps before the third design review of the day? Is anybody here who can chase that, please?
I can ask to get your docs updated, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, so how are we going to look at this?
If you want, I can share or like whatever you prefer.
Well,
you could just update the documentation, like you.
well, I know,
Yeah.
but I mean, this, whatever.
No,
Okay.
whichever. Either way.
No, I'll do that. I'll go ahead and do that. I just thought it was done. Okay. Still running. All right, let's get a sketch of what's going on here. So,
Okay, so basically, we are keeping this release externally is quite slim because we are doing a lot of work under the hood, especially around statistical functions and modeling function. That so that they can be modernized and work with the new tabular stuff. So that is ongoing at a good point.
The updated version?
Yes, this is. Okay, so we can start here.
Okay.
Okay, so changes like there's normal property. The topic specification has been moved to the first argument. Here we need to do at some point a final decision. I put synonyms in there, like between abstract and description, summary and rewrite. And then I implemented more things that we discussed.
Okay. Let me get a random.
Others are coming. So
I'm just going to get some random piece of text. How do I get the text version of this?
Most of the stuff came in today, so I don't know how much you have. But if you want to try the older spec, they're still gonna work. So, like the summary and abstract, they are gonna work. So the default one.
We have no summarization other than one done through an external LLM?
Right now, no. We discussed this at the beginning. We don't have like immediate alternative to do that.
Okay. But so we have the service connection stuff coming that's going to support zillions of LLMs.
This
correct?
is what I said that's coming for the past. That's coming for 13.3. We have a clear release plan. Okay. And we are also going to release
how many LLMs are we supporting? Many?
Well, 3 with the new release. We are going to have OpenAI, we're going to have Cloud by Anthropic, and we're going to have Palm by Google, which is kind of a officially.
But I thought we were also getting Llama and Falcon and all these.
We have support for Hugging Face, so you can get those, and we can start registering those. I mean, we are finalizing the registration framework this week. It seems to work. So Rick is switching to that for the chat notebook, and I'm gonna switch chat.
For which thing?
We basically create an abstraction layer that's gonna be used by chat notebook, LM Synthesize, and so Rick is already working on porting chat notebook to use that. So that thing is moving very fast, and at that point, we can register things ourselves and push out Parklet updates to add new LLMs. But we can also make very easy for users to pick their own
Yeah, okay.
register it and have it in the interface, so they can select it in chat notebooks and use it.
That's great. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, we
Yeah.
went through a long discussion last time. Neither of these is the right term for this. You can't say no. I mean, we went through this at great length last time. What did we conclude?
On the notebook I have, there's abstract, but it's not that clear. It's better to use description. And same for summary, it's better to use rewrite.
Well, wait a second.
So I put in those.
Somebody
synonyms.
needs to go listen to the recording then, because we discussed this at great length.
Okay, I go through the recording again.
Look at the transcript of the recording.
Yeah, I'll look at the transcript. It's probably better.
I'm sorry, this is just not right. I mean,
Okay.
We went through this great length, and that style is.
Yeah, I think I missed the end of the discussion apparently.
Okay, so you better go listen to it, because this isn't right.
No problem.
This is. Yeah, no. I mean, you can't have one of the things that Text Summarize does is to produce a summary. I mean, that's...
No. The new synonym is there. It's called rewrite. I'm gonna drop the first one. I left the old one as a.
I don't think it's right. I'm sorry.
Okay, I had that in the Jira ticket. I listened to the summary. No problem.
Does somebody here remember better than I do? What we concluded? I mean, we talked about this
and rewrite.
Is that what we concluded?
Yes, and then we got other feedback from members in the audience from that live stream. We have yet to follow up with that though.
Yeah, I have more in line to be implemented,
particularly
like
those,
the bullet list and stuff. But
I mean, and I don't think this is particularly if so. Come on, let's avoid the typos here. Summarizes, generates a summary, or but this says summaries, right? That isn't right.
Yeah, sorry. I should. I have to reread this, but this has not been DQ8 so far.
No, I understand.
And my eyes.
And I don't understand what the order of things listed here is. Is this just alphabetical order? Yes.
No, it is. It was alphabetical order, and as soon as I remove abstract and summary, I will resort it. So
okay.
Those are just as a comparison.
No, this is not a good idea. When it says paraphrase and then it says in the same style, paraphrase I would expect to be in the same style.
Oh, well, I can just fix the description, like give a short description of text.
But yeah, I don't know what this should be called. Right? I mean, this is, and we've talked about again, the text discusses versus just what it says. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
How is that reflected here?
Well, description is the text discusses, and rewrite is the one that keeps the same tone, which in your version is still called summary. So if you want to try it and check the difference, you can say text summarize of the same string with summary and see what it would say.
Oh.
You didn't put the second argument. Yeah.
Which also doesn't have autocomplete.
No, I have a PR in another repo for that.
Okay. Which one is this? This is
this will be called rewrite, and it's done the is done the shortening with the same tone. And the one above will be called description, and it's doing in this text, blah, blah, blah. Or this text does this and that.
Well, that's not terrible. But then for God's sake, write this correctly. Description of,
Yeah.
Description of what the text says. Rewrite of the text in the same style.
Okay.
Okay. And I would not put verbs here. I would put nouns here.
Okay, so yeah, key sentences from text, yeah, keywords,
right.
that makes sense, yeah.
Okay, all right. This is probably okay. I mean, we should just check if that was what we concluded last time, then I think we should consider it okay.
I can
Okay.
verify that as well later.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
The other big thing that is coming out is what we just discussed: the LLM update to custom and arbitrary LLMs for all our LLM tech.
We just talked about that.
Yeah.
That's great, but we just talked about it. Okay, let's move on here to next external object.
Yeah. So this thing here, we are deploying right now CUDA. There was a bit of work on RE side because we decoupled the CUDA library from MXNet, and so you don't have to download it twice for MXNet and for this one here. And we are just testing, but basically everything is working on the Parquet downloads before pushing everything. So, but CUDA works, and now Matteo is working hard on finishing the CoreML, so we can have the support for Mac. But yeah, I think it'll be ready.
Okay, so what this means in practice is you can, in the neural net repository, we can have things which are alien creatures, alien onyxes going around on the savannah or wherever onyxes live.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
We can already have those in the net repository if we want.
Okay, so what is this now doing?
They're faster.
The advantage is that you will be able to use target device GPU with net external object, and that will work on a Mac as well.
I see. That's very interesting. Right.
This is super important also for our internal use of networks, yeah, because we can use this to have GPU acceleration to like image processing.
So wait a minute. So does this mean the CoreML support, does that extend, yes, to our own, any neural net that we currently have can now have target device, Arrow GPU on a Mac and it will work. Is that correct?
Yeah, if we export it to ONNX, I mean, the only caveat is we need to be able to export it to ONNX, which I think almost all of them we can. I'm saying almost.
So for example, all of our, image identifier and all those kinds of things. Is that right?
Exactly. We could redeploy them as ONNX files and then import those on the Mac and run them on GPU.
Okay, but I mean, so the plan is to do that for all of our internal models. Is that correct? By internal models, I mean models that are in the product deployed for a variety of purposes.
Yes, exactly. As soon as I have confirmation that this works, I'll start.
Is every model that we use in the neural net repository?
I think so, and most of them are documented. We have an ongoing effort to document all of them.
Okay.
So something tricky, but that will be immensely helpful given that we have this as a primary deployment route, is to add the encoders and decoder support to net external object. Because right now this is very naked, it's just direct access to the metal. So you need to do the image decoding yourself and or whatever it is, yeah. So I mean, you can still use the encoders and decoders. We have examples in documentation. You just use them as a function instead of attaching them. But it would be easier if you could on import just specify, like this port named blah 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 in this network is an image.
Right. Well,
this will reduce errors and stuff. So yeah, we are also actively working on this, and I have a branch open. It's just a bit tricky with the way the framework currently is, but I would like to release this 4.14 as well.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so just so I understand, I mean, if you've built a network in our system and then you export it as Onyx,
yes,
then this is saying that I could run it natively can I run it on iOS natively through CoreML?
Well, I mean, we do have networks exported with CoreML running. We are trying to, for our math detection, we are helping the people doing that app to do formula detection using CoreML. But this is using CoreML directly, though. We exported the network to CoreML directly. So honestly, the answer is that I don't know. I'll have to check, because this relies on the ONNX runtime. So the ONNX runtime, of course, works on Mac. I don't know if it works on iOS.
Okay. Well, okay, but I mean, so what is the tooling around getting an independently running Core ML inference system? I mean, do you just output a file?
We need to define an export. I haven't looked too much into that yet. If it is priority, I'll
well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how useful it is. I mean, I'm, you know, is the bottom line that there's a .onnx file that unfurls itself into a giant thing that can be used to run inference on some, you know, device, or how does it work?
Well, I mean, we targeted Windows, Linux, Mac for now, so I have to investigate how this works on mobile devices.
Well, how does it work on a Mac, for example?
We have an ONNX runtime. Right now, it's built with CPU support, and the plan here is to build with GPU support. So basically, the ONNX runtime will run it on the neural engine instead of
I got that. But what I'm asking is, if I want to make this standalone, okay, and I just say I've got this network. Look, you know, let's be concrete. Okay, so if I say net model, you know, Linnet, for example. Okay, here's a model. If ever it comes up, come on, what's it doing? Okay, now I want to save that and run it natively on my machine. How do I do that? Do I say export?
You say export or that to
comma ONNX.
ONNX, exactly. And then, what is this?
You need a file, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. Silly me, I always forget about the file.
Well, let's just do an export string just so I see what it is.
Oh dear.
Well, hopefully it's not too big. It is too big.
And we just crashed.
I think it's trying to print a long string.
What's that?
Oh, it crashed? Nice.
It crashed.
Yeah.
So that's something to look at.
That's going to be a very long string. I would try with export if you really want to test it. But anyway, this will generate an ONNX file, and then you can use the ONNX runtime directly on your computer if you want. I'm trying to understand what is your end game here. What do you want to do?
How do I do this? How do I create a temporary file?
Create file.
Okay.
And you can just put create file in there if you want, or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I have to give it a .onx.
No. If you say the comma ONNX, it will take care of that.
But won't it get the MIME type messed up?
I have no idea. Let's try.
I just crashed.
Did it?
Yep.
Interesting.
Okay, so this wasn't a successful test.
No, this wasn't. But I mean, I know it works because I spent the week helping Marcus straightening out his pipeline with segmentation models. Yeah, this creates most definitely in master creates an ONNX file, and then if you want to use it from our stack, you just import that as an net external object, and I'm adding direct import using the head, so you can just do net external object of file, and that will create a net external object for you.
And why isn't it just net model of file?
Because net model is used to download stuff. This is the file on your computer is not a resource.
No, I understand that, but it would know. I mean, I don't think there's anything ambiguous about net model of a file. I mean, what's the difference between net external object and net model?
Well, net external object is an alias for the resource system. So it's basically doing resource data on something.
No, you mean net
just
model
a specialized form
for that.
Yeah, you asked net model.
No, you said net external object. Net external object.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Net model is an alias for resource data. Net external object is a wrapper for a representation of ONNX model in our memory.
Right. So it doesn't get converted. It doesn't get converted.
No, I understand.
And the idea is to support other types of network frameworks.
So it's some random binary gunk
Yes.
stored
Yeah.
as a binary array. Is that
That
right?
has
Yep.
a runtime, binary
Yeah, okay, so it has-
gunk runtime.
It's a managed library expression,
Right.
to be precise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, but if we saw a file which was a .onx file inside NetModel, it would not be ambiguous.
No. We can distribute ONX files through. We already tried that. You can even distribute net external object directly as a serialized expression. We also tried that. So you can basically do net model foo and you get out a net external object. Once foo is probably uploaded to our cloud.
Yeah, okay, wait.
So
What's foo? Foo is a ONX file, right?
Yeah. I mean, so for example, ImageNetify is called Wolfram ImageNetify Net V2.
Yeah.
So if we do, I don't know, Wolfram segmentation Net V1, and that wraps, is an alias for a net external object instead of a net chain or a net graph,
I understand.
it will still work the same.
Okay, next question. On these different devices, random, iOS device, Linux device, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If I feed in a .onx file, like for example, with standard MIME type openers and things, if I, put a GIF file on a random device, it's going to open with a GIF viewer, right?
Yeah.
But now with an ONNX file, I want it to open. I want it to become an inference engine that takes certain input and processes it. But how does it know where to get the input from? In other words, what is the standalone driver on, I've got this file, it is a neural net.
Mm-hmm.
How do I put a harness around it so that it works on a random system out there?
Like within a notebook, within the Wolfram engine?
No. Not within our technology stack. What exists?
Okay. You use the ONNX runtime directly. You install a ONNX runtime and then you say whatever they use. I actually don't know the details about how to use it. I use it through libraries.
But that's great, but it doesn't put the harness around it particularly.
No, you will have to do some console command like I don't know, like load this file and pass this input.
Right. But that's not something like for Arduino, for example, we provide a harness. Do we not? When you do a microcontroller programming thing, I could have an Arduino that actually controls my thermostat or something.
Yes.
Because it has enough harness around it to do that. So I'm just trying to understand if I want.
But you kind of need to say on which pin or whatever, as it's called there, right?
Yeah, in the Arduino case, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but so the question is, where's the data coming into this thing? It's running. There's a disembodied neural brain running on the iOS device, and something is feeding data into it, and then it's running its inference and it's blurting out the output to somewhere.
I think that's really useful to think about. Sort of that to me is like a deployment model.
Yeah.
Like I think we need lots of them for stuff that we develop here.
Well, I know, but we have standalone. Look, for example, we have this whole framework which is almost arriving for standalone deployment of Wolfram engines. Okay. I'm just trying to understand, like for example, the Wolfram script wrapper is an example of something which provides a command line wrapper for our technology stack.
Right.
So one could imagine a similar command line wrapper for, an ONNX inference engine. Does that make sense?
I don't know, command line. Well, maybe.
Well, it's just one mode, or it's a library that plugs into some other thing.
Yeah. So I don't have a super good idea for how one would do it on iOS, what that would be.
Yeah, it has to be in some IDE. It has to be something that you write code for from an IDE, I assume.
Swift seems to be a good thing that it should hook up to.
Yeah, right. But I have no idea. But go ahead.
But I think that there are other such similar modes. Like, how can you export it to be an API on AWS or a service on AWS?
Yeah, I know. Right. I mean, just like we did a great job many years ago with with our API mechanisms and so on.
Right. But I mean, these are sort of, this is mobile and cloud, which are two sort of nearby modalities in a way, or environments.
So
Right.
are you saying that we should offer like some way to wrap this procedure basically?
Yeah,
this is the tutorial
at least
about
provide
how
a
to deploy.
workflow that describes how to do it, even if we do nothing else.
Right.
Okay.
We did do for iOS many years ago. We wrote a blog, but I think
Yes.
how to do it on iOS. But I think things have improved, and we could probably do it better.
Fair enough.
And so, what did he do? He did some mushroom classification. That blog post, and then ran it on his iOS device, developed in Mathematica.
Massive documentation updates. What did you change?
Open predict new and compare it with predict. I also have a classify new, but
I like classify better.
well, predict new has more examples, but the notes are the same. They are both updated. So why is it going to 2 lines on your machine? I tweak the space all the time. Okay, I have to make it even smaller. Of course, that should be on 1 line, input output.
I don't understand what line for what. This
you see that you see in feature, and then just below you have class. Those should be on the same line. So we rewrote all the notes, created images for every method, and started documenting all type of input that you can give in, all the examples. So predict is all pushed. Classify, I'm reviewing some, but there was we started spending a lot of time on documentation because we noticed we were seriously lacking in terms of everything we could do. And
it's important.
Because people didn't know that we could do some stuff. It turns out reading bugs and support tickets. So
right, good.
That's a minor thing. We added progress support. We are adding progress support, and basically every version we are taking some function, adding progress supporting.
Where do I look for dendrogram tree?
You already look at that. We skipped 1 release because I'm waiting for some updates in the tree framework to come in. Because I did custom stuff, and we decided it would be better not to have custom stuff here. So you see all these new edge functions.
Coming in for the tree framework?
Ian I just got an update today from Ian that he is actively working on that, and he's going to update me again in a couple of days.
Okay, fine.
So this is a big thing that we just started touching the surface of all our statistical modeling functions that have been sitting there for a long time. So what we did is, I rewrote the whole property framework so that we don't have crazy dependency messes, and we can actually extending and make it possible to add new properties on the fly. Also, we know this could be done with the function repository or whatever. And we have started to bring them in the modern world, like different input types, support for uncertainty in the arguments, support for quantities.
That's very important.
There's a lot of stuff that they don't know about right now. Yeah, and this is going to be ongoing. The biggest change is going to come.
What about the output? Making kind of nice blobs for the output rather than some of the crazy stuff we had before.
I can definitely change. I have a prototype for that. I didn't put it in for 14, but I can definitely change that to a summary box. The fitted model?
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem. Also, one thing that I wanted to add, and I have a problem on my machine, but just that you're talking about summary boxes. We have this expression called discrete indicator, which if we is basically a way to represent Boolean values. Is very useful
I
for
never
machine
would
learning.
have guessed from its name.
No, it's well, you were.
I
Well,
do know that name. I know what
yeah.
indicator functions are.
Yeah.
It's a
So
terrible name.
it's what machine learning people call a one-hot encoding, or dummy variables, like statistics people call it. So if you have a categorical variables with 5 values, that's going to result in 5 variables when you fit it. Okay, and then the formula
Yes.
will have these discrete indicator functions 5 times for the different values.
Yes. Which is very similar to our, I mean, it's closely related to our bool functions and things like
Yes.
this, isn't it?
Yes,
Well,
it is
that's basically the discrete indicator x, a is basically bool of x equal a.
Yes.
But with the difference that also holds all the other possible values that x can take.
Yes.
I mean, it holds.
I mean,
Well,
it has a
if
list
you
of
open the
what are
page
the
for it,
possible values. Okay?
Exactly.
Things can be a
If you open the
symbol that
page-
isn't that it knows what the possible values are.
Okay.
And if something is symbolic, it's neither of those values.
So wait a minute. I mean, okay. Do
I
we
mean,
have this function?
Open the page for it. It's called discrete indicator.
That's hard.
This has been around for a long time. Yeah, I'm not saying
It was
something
introduced in 7.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I've never used it.
I'm
because
sure
you
you
don't
haven't.
really use it. This is created for you for models.
Yes. It's when you want to see the formula. If you've only used fitting and regression for numerical variables, you've never seen it. If you've had categorical variables, you would have seen it.
Okay. Well, okay. So
Okay,
what's the point?
so my question is, given that we are making these models massively more useful in terms of data types and processing and stuff, this thing will pop out more. Can I make a type setting similar to root object for this?
I hate the root object typesetting nowadays.
The new one as well?
Well, what's the new one? Let me look.
I thought it was greatly approved.
We need to lock you in a room with Itai so you can, because you guys.
Oh God, not this again. Not this again. Come on, guys. I want to get the frigging polynomial out. Get me the polynomial. I click here, I get nothing. That's no
You
good.
have a meeting with Itai and he says he's going to do whatever it is you guys are arguing about, and you meet every week in other meetings, and yet you do
then
this now
make
when
sure,
it's not
make
here.
sure that this gets it. Whoever's doing project management, make sure this gets in the next meeting. Make sure this doesn't escape. This needs to be in 14.0. This is wrong. Please fix it. Anybody here able to communicate that? Yes, no, who's project managing here? What project manager is here?
I will, yeah.
Okay, did you understand what to do here? No.
I don't understand.
Yes, no, you didn't understand what to do. So
No.
I
but
did. I'll
can
take care of it
investigate.
again.
Don't worry.
I will pass it to Itai.
right, we must.
I got it. I don't
And it should definitely not print the polynomial, for sure.
That's
should be
fine.
easy to get,
then,
but it should definitely not print the polynomial.
That's fine.
That's exactly
fine.
what we're trying to avoid.
I don't mind that.
Yeah,
but
it should be. I agree with you.
Easy to get.
Absolutely, completely agree. No argument at all.
Right, this is nonsense. I mean, this is.
We have agreed a million times, Stephen.
Okay, I don't know why this isn't done. I just have no idea.
I don't know either. You can stay in the same meeting with Itai says he's going to do it, and then it's not done.
Okay, well, fine.
I don't know.
Okay, so sorry for opening this Pandora's box.
Pass it to Itai, and it will be in 14.
What's that?
We will make sure to pass it to Itai so that it's in 14.
Fine.
Okay, so my question was more about the visual appearance of this, like something which is smaller than that, has a little frame around it, so it reads. And if you see that inside of a formula,
it should say?
Well, I think yeah, sorry, please go.
Yeah, Giulio, I really, the way to have those discussions is to have constructive suggestions instead of trying to get a free mandate to just do something. Because I think one needs to iterate. It's like every time we've designed these, we've had to iterate quite a few times before it gets sort of good. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like here, I don't know whether you want to display the ABC. I don't understand this A.
Well, that's maybe a portrait.
A?
Well, so, the first thing is this formula. It's like X, okay? So when X equals A, it's true. So you could put in.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to put an X here and it'll not evaluate, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Okay,
yes.
So now if I say table of this, X, A, B, C, D.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, the obvious thing to do here would be, if you think this list is going to be fairly short, would be to have something where you, for example, have this list. I mean, this isn't going to look quite right, but I mean, that looks terrible, but here actually we need to say. I mean, this isn't right, but you get what I'm saying.
I think we should come up with some. I don't think that's going to work, Stephen, because A is going to be many of them. Yeah. And the other thing is that I think that the essential information you need to sort of know is that, so these things are usually called factors in a model.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you want to know is that if this factor is like male or female, and that's what you want to stand out. This is the male factor. This is the female factor.
I see what you're saying. So you just
actually,
basically want.
I forgot to put the proposal. Actually, I had it ready. I sent you an email with an image, which is the render thing.
Okay.
Or if you have, like the typical quality scale, like a 5, strongly disagree, agree. Those.
Right, but you have the variable here as well. So.
Yeah, because the variable might be called, city equal Rome.
Right,
and then below you see
thing, the AB
Chicago.
Is that correct?
Exactly. That's the tooltip. So if you over it, you see it can be Rome, Chicago, or New York.
This looks reasonable to me. I mean, as a first approximation, this looks reasonable. Roger?
Yeah, it looks pretty reasonable, but I still want to iterate on it a few times. It just, want to see some more variants. Basically.
Okay.
I would also, in the tooltip, I don't see a good reason to not give the thing as explicitly discrete indicator, blah blah blah.
Oh, I see.
I don't see the reason to hide that. I think you might as well, because otherwise it's like, what the heck is this?
Okay, I'll do one more iteration with Roger, and then we can submit for approval.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
it's going to be exciting when all these statistics functions really are modernized.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be. I'm positive next version. We put a lot of work this summer. It's just that there's so much to do that we think it will be stronger if we have a release fully focused on those.
All right, fine.
I think we can innovate on every part of the workflow. So the data coming in, how you control it, how we describe it, first of all, so you know what the heck it does.
Yeah, right.
And secondly, what comes out. So I think all aspects of the workflow will improve and will fill in a lot of missings. Yeah, no, it will deal with missings. That's another thing it needs to do.
That's important. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. The net repo.
We have a lot of network coming out still. So this is the list updated to last month of the new networks. There's some big hitters here like Stable Diffusion, Clip and Blip, which is like for image captioning, image classification using sentences instead of classes. And and
which
we have
of these are we using in our internal functions?
So the one that I think, let me see what is the unit. I don't think we use many of these, honestly. The one that we use that we are writing right now the documentation because they are uploaded but without being public yet is new segmentation models. That
SAM?
Yes, SAM, exactly.
For what?
Do you know that, Roger?
No.
It's a very cool model that basically.
SAM is well, in the next review that you have in an hour or something, we'll talk SAM all along.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna spoil it. It's gonna come out in the image processing review.
Okay. All right. So I have a question. I mean, in something like pose estimation, is there a good reason that we don't try and just make a function for that?
We could just add that to facial features, or like no, sorry, facial features also faces. So. We don't have one for full body.
But I think why don't we have a function for this? I mean, it's
what is the output from pose estimation?
It's a collection
set of key points,
I think.
Exactly, so it's a collection of key points for every body part.
We could have an association. I mean, at our summer school and high school program and so on, several people have used this quite successfully. It was rather straightforward to use, and it felt like a thing that was just a component that could be used. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I'm just asking out of curiosity what comes out. But maybe it is like facial features. It's a function like that.
I think it's a function very much like that. Yes. It's let's look at it.
Yeah, basically, facial features we built as a collection of basically to wrap a collection of machine learning resources around face analysis.
Pose estimation, this one here.
Yeah. So this gives a bunch of things. Gives bounding boxes, gives key points by type, and also segmented by instance. So
those points that come out there, are they kind of labeled like knee?
I assume that they are.
Yeah. They are sorted. So here we're just displaying the points as the naked output. Sorry, the one below is showing you this segmented basically key points. So it's not just knee, but is this knee is of the same person as this other knee, because
that's right,
exactly. So this is doing both object detection and on object marked as people is doing the segmentation.
Yeah, not just a huge collection of knees.
Exactly. This is quite difficult.
Yes.
And then of course you have some parameters to decide how much you want to look around to decide if this knee is part of the same person as this other knee.
I see.
I think we should build this into a system function. I think this is obviously, there's just lots of random applications for this.
Well, I can see this even in video processing or something like that. It would be.
Yeah, this could be cool. Yeah, it could be nice to have this.
I mean, it looks to me like it needs some packaging and so on, but it looks like it's not far away.
Okay, I'll talk to Shadi, and I think the plumbing is already all in this page. So is mostly the packaging, as you said.
Yeah. So question, like speech to text. At this point, how multilingual are our speech to text systems?
We added a bunch of networks. So at this point is just it should be just English, but we've added a bunch of multilingual networks. And I know that Carlo was working on those. But I
So
have to.
for 14,
I
are
have
we
to
going
get
to
an
have
update.
multilingual transcription?
I cannot answer to that. Sorry.
I don't
You
think
mean
so, but
speech-
it's
speech,
possible that we have
recognized.
services. Let's bring that up in the next meeting, Stephen, with Carlo.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, looking good. Anything else we should go over here?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, one thing I can maybe tell you about is that we have a tentative plan for being able to add new connections already in 13.3.
Yep.
That involves basically releasing two function repository functions. One that will make it like while we are still waiting on the service framework redesign, we can just skip the wait and release a function repository item that will make immensely easier to create a new service connection. And then we would need like a sibling function that will take that connection and say, oh, you see, you can use this connection as a valid chat provider. And that will basically make it like register it for chat notebook, chat object, LLM synthesized.
So it can glue itself into the GUI, basically. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. The idea is that the GUI will basically use our registration mechanism and basically query what has been registered. So if you manually register a new provider in your session, then it will be available through the GUI.
You know, one thing that I wonder about all of this, in Packlets, we have the ability to register things into the system, right? That's what Packlets do, is they, one of the things they do is they stuff pallets in the right place and so on. Isn't this the same kind of thing?
Maybe, but I think releasing one Packlet for each of we already have one Packlet for each service connection. It's just a matter of telling the system to use. I mean, the service connection is already a Packlet.
I'm saying, just as a Packlet can announce to the front end that here is a new pallet, stick it in the pallets menu, right? Why can't a Packlet announce to the chat notebook system, here's a new, LLM provider, stick it in the appropriate menu?
It could. The reason why we have this intermediate layer is that not every service connection supports every parameter, and there's a lot of renaming and a lot of things there around that. So basically, that is a middle layer that tries to do all the translations necessary.
Okay, but I mean, in the end, the registration, you don't want the user to have to run a registration function. You want the user to just say, Packlet
we are doing that.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay. I need to think
when
about
does the registration happen? I mean, possibly. Okay.
Well,
if everything is pre-registered, then
exactly.
Who cares?
So stuff is pre-registered, and if we want to add a new system ourselves, we can always release a Packlet update, let's say of LLM functions that will register new stuff. This system is useful for two reasons. People might want to experiment with their own. The one is released today and tomorrow you want to play it. Or organizations might want to, point their custom endpoint on some Azure, like AWS, EC2, whatever. In that case, we are not involved, but we should give them, or like solutions also can create them. They ask. Yeah. So you want a registration mechanism that is independent of us, so that people can actually point to their own private stuff.
I agree, but I'm just saying, somebody in a perfect world, somebody would make a Packlet for connecting to, I don't know what, Turtle LLM or something, right? Made by who knows what. Then and that would be a Packlet, because there needs to be a Packlet to specify the connection, right? But as soon as you Packlet install the Packlet, it would use the appropriate hook to attach itself to the GUI for the LLM functions.
Well, that's not a problem, because if you know what, if you have this registration mechanism, you can put the registration code in your Packlet. and as soon as the package is installed, the registration code runs, and that's
Yeah, I
it.
understand, but what is the registration code? I'm just saying that we have a way of packaging registration code in the Packlet repository system or in the Packlet system. I mean, there is hard code that you could use to install a palette in the palettes menu, but you don't have to use it because that stuff is automatically done. I think, I don't completely know how it works, is automatically done by the Packlet system.
The point is that the Packlet can, a palette can be anything, and we are fine in displaying anything. But if you create a service connection that is meant to be used, let's call it as an LLM provider, then we have a format. It needs to understand LLM configuration. It needs to understand our standard message payload.
But I don't think it's true that you can have anything for a palette. Anyway, I think somebody should have a discussion, probably with Connor, about the Packlet system to just see whether this is something that should be inserted as a thing that gets registered through the Packlet system. I might be wrong. It might not be useful.
Okay, we have talked to Connor about this. He's on board with our plan, but maybe we didn't push enough on this. Thing. We can have another look.
It would be nice to just have a Packlet. As soon as you type Packlet install, everything just works. But you say you can do that anyway because you can have hard code functions inside it that install it in the hook.
I can create a Packlet that does it.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
So.
All right.
Okay, this is why I want to create those function repository functions to basically test how that can be automated.
Right. I mean, I'm making a small point that might or might not be useful.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. See you all soon. I'll probably see you in the next meeting. Right.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Bye.